Hello guys, Charles here and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about bending and I want to share with you 5 interesting bending techniques, some of which you may already know and some of which might be new to you. Some of these I certainly didn't know for the first few years of playing, so hopefully these will help you guys out. So the first two we're going to look at here are used a lot in country guitar. Now country guitar, we're emulating other instruments very often on the 6-string guitar. So one of them we emulate a lot is steel guitar or lap steel guitar, which is played using a metal bar and sometimes pedals as well. And another device which we often use installed in your guitar is called a B bender or a G bender, and that's where you use the weight of the guitar and the guitar strap to pull a device which stretches either your G string or your B string, and that can change the pitch of the note. Now when we're doing country style bends, it's really important to do them in tune. Blues players, rock players, we often kind of bend between notes and it gives us that edgy, bluesy, soul-y sort of sound. Country players most of the time are bending perfectly in tune as much as possible. So the first of these, we're going to emulate a pedal steel guitar. So this is a really simple bending technique and I'll give you 2 options here. So we're going to be bending on the G string. Let's do this here in D major. So I'm here on the 9th fret of the G string and I'm going to bend it up to the same pitch as the 11th fret. So it's an E to an F sharp, like that. Now what I can do at the same time is I'm going from an E to an F sharp. I can finish up the bend with the remaining notes of the chord. So F sharp, A and D would be a D major chord. Don't worry if you don't understand that, because this is a shape you're going to use a lot. And so the way to do that is to use my little finger on the 10th fret of the B and the E string, which is A and D. So I get this. Which is a very country sound. I'm really trying to get that F sharp in tune. It's really difficult to do. It's easy slow, but doing it fast. There you go, there's a little bit of... There we go. So it's quite hard to do that really perfectly. It's easier to do when you've got the context of a band playing behind you because you can hear how that F sharp fits into the pitch a bit better. So that's one way of doing it. Another way to do it is let's take that same note, we can go from an F sharp. But this time, let's say that F sharp's going to be part of a B minor 7, or maybe you could think of this as a D6. So I've still got an F sharp note. I'm still going to have the A, but I'm going to have a B on the top string. So I'm still bending with my ring finger. So those are 2 ways to emulate the pedal steel guitar. Gives us a very country sound. So the second bending technique is very similar, but this time we're emulating a G bender or a B bender. So all we're going to do, let's stay on the same note, let's still bend that E to an F sharp, but rather than going up on the next string to a chord tone, we're just going to pretend we're going up through the scale. So it's going to be E bending to F sharp, and then we're going to play a G on the next note in this instance if we're in a D major scale. Again, really focusing on the tuning here, really hard to do. So you notice here I'm bending with my middle finger. Now I'm on gauge 11 strings here, but I have got a shorter scale length-ish, so it's not too painful for me, and I've been playing for ages, but you might find that's quite tough. Go down a string gauge if you need to, but I'm trying to bend there, a tone with my middle finger. Now to carry this on, I could go up and do the same on the next string. So this is a G bender. And then here I could carry on. Finish on that top string if I wanted. With those B bender ones, it's best to do the bend quite quickly, because the way the bender works is like this swift pull of the neck, so it's quite a good idea to try and do it relatively fast to emulate that. So the third one is quite popular amongst soul players and rock players alike. It's a very trendy sound at the minute. You hear this a lot more than you used to. You don't tend to hear this in guys like Jimmy Page or I don't know, Joe Perry so much, although they will do it from time to time. But this is called the bend and slide. And there's a few different ways of doing this, but we'll just focus on the most easy one here. let's just stick to that same bending note, that E up to an F sharp. And I'm going to bend up to an F sharp. So there's the bend. And then the slide. So I'm pretending I'm in like B minor pentatonic here. Which means blues scale note is going to be between my starting note and the note I bend. So what I can do is I can bend up to F sharp, and then as I release, do a little slide like that to the 10th fret. Bend, slide, release. Now you can do this a tone as well, or a semitone. Semitone's a bit more subtle, but the tone's nice as well. So it's a bend and a slide. It's just a nice way to add a little bit of, it's quite an emotional sound. Lovely little sound. Okay, on the subject of the blues scale, here's another one which is great on the blues scale. Let's stay to B minor pentatonic. And I'm going to be on the B string here, and I'm going to go down a position, down a fret I should say, on the B string. So I would normally play 7 and 10, but I'm going to play 6 and 9. Now this is called the bend and trill, and this is going to be a first finger bend, which is quite tough, on the 6th fret up to the 7th fret. So the correct note is 7, but I'm starting a fret lower and I'm bending up to 7. Now once that note is bent, I'm going to hold it and trill with my little finger on the 9th fret. Now remember, the correct notes here are the 7th fret and the 10th fret, but because I've already bent up a semitone, the 9th fret is now going to sound as a 10th fret. It's pre-bent. Now you can experiment with the amount of bend on the first finger, and you can experiment throughout the trill, and the tone will slightly waver. It just makes it sound a little bit less stable, which is an interesting thing. That sort of idea. The final one here, I'm going to call it the triple G. This is the Guthriegovan gurgle. Now I'm sure other guys have done this as well, but the first person I heard doing this was Guthriegovan. So the Guthriegovan gurgle. So what we do for this one, let's go back to the 9th fret of the G string. Let's say that was the note we want to hear, is the 9th fret. E. So we play the note, then we immediately play 1 fret lower and bend upwards. So in this instance, 8th fret, and try and bend it up to match the 9th. Now to do this effectively, I found you need to bend downwards. You need to pull the string downwards. It's really easy to slip off, so this is one of those ones, I mean I don't tend to do it, but it's a very interesting sound. It's like emulating when you do a whammy bar flick, like John Petrucci style, or Jeff Beck. It's very easy to catch other strings as I just did there. Again, quite important to try and bend in tune for that one. So in summary, we've got a pedal steel bend. We've got our G and B bender licks. We've got our bend and slide. We've got our bend and trill. And finally, we've got our Guthriegovan gurgle. So I hope you found that one useful, and there was a bending technique in there that you haven't seen before. They're really tricky, and they're the sort of thing which I often forget to practice because I'm thinking about jazz too much, and we often forget about bending in jazz. Perfectly acceptable technique by today's standards. John Scofield, Pat Metheny, plenty of other players play using bends. So if you are focusing on jazz or modern jazz, please bend more. I'm certainly going to try to. If you did find that one useful, please do give it a like, subscribe, ding that notification bell, and share with any of your friends who have boring bends. And as always, I hope you're all doing very well, getting plenty of practice in, and I very much look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.
Roll up, let me embed a story you'll never forget. A drip, drip, but drowning in debt now. You can't buy your way out, and I heard you find it difficult to cope. Well, here by this bottle full of hope.